Which one is it? I'll tell you what it's not. It's not a Japanese brand. It's something that's a personal first for me. Which means it's not Swiss either. This is actually one of the more famous, recognizable, you could say iconic, German brands. And the brand I'm talking about today is Junghans. Since the unboxing, I've worn this watch a lot over the last 6 weeks. A lot. And it has its own sort of wearing experience, and I'll get into that a little bit later in this video. But this being my first real sort of German watch from a classic German watchmaker, I've always had a respect for the German brands, but now I love them as a result of this. And I can understand why Junghans at one point was the most prolific, most successful watchmaker in the world. There was a time where there was more Junghans watches available for sale than any other brand, right? They were numero uno. And I get it. Because there's no wasted space on this particular watch. There's nothing that's been overlooked and nothing that's been overdone or maybe undercooked a little bit. Everything has been executed perfectly, right? To exactly the degree it should be, in my personal opinion. Some other people may disagree. If you're into really outlandish designs, then of course this isn't going to do it for you, and the majority of German brands aren't going to do it for you, except when it comes to maybe the finishing of some of the higher end brands, if that's your thing. But as far as just wearing a watch day to day, this watch does it well, does it exceptionally well. And there's something about it that drew me to it. It's a particular complication that I've been trying to find for quite some time. And every watch I see it in, it's never really executed in such a way that makes me want to own it or makes me want to have it as part of my collection. Most of you know I cycle through a lot of watches. I only keep an 8-watch collection now. So for a watch to remain in my collection, it's got to be exceptional. It's got to do what it does perfectly. And this has a chance to stay in my collection, a very good chance actually, because of how it's executed this one particular complication. And you're probably wondering which complication that is, so let's get into it. A complication that so many watch manufacturers just get wrong is a power reserve. And a lot of people hate the power reserve complication as a result of that, because they're done kind of improperly or awkwardly. But the Junghans Gangreserve, they do it right. They do it right. First of all, having it at the 6 o'clock position keeps everything symmetrical. But more importantly, it's a power reserve that when things are absolutely full, when you're completely filled up, it essentially disappears. Almost there. Right? When this is full, it disappears. It really does. Now, of course, you know it's there, so you obviously see it. But the majority of times you just sort of glance at your wrist to check the time, you're not going to notice it when it's full up. When somebody sees this watch for the first time, if it's full up, they don't even know it has a power reserve. And the way it works is as it drains, it goes from blue to match the dial, to gray, which is the midpoint, to red. And when it's completely full in red, it's completely expired. And I love that about it. It's a power reserve that you can take notice of it when you want to, but the majority of the time, it's almost like it's not there. And I love the stealth aspect of this particular design. For the most part, dress watches have occupied a much smaller percentage of the market for watch enthusiasts. Some watch enthusiasts just ignore dress watches altogether. And I get it. For a lot of people, they can be somewhat boring because a lot of dress watches are basically just 2 or 3 handers with a date sometimes or a day date. And that's about it. That's the majority of what you see. The kind of additional flourish generally comes from design or exotic materials or maybe exotic dials, but you can only go so far before a dress watch starts to look a little bit garish and is no longer a dress watch. It becomes something else. But lately, and partially due to the influence of some micro brands, but the big brands are now doing it as well, you have a number of dress watches on the market that are gaining greater appeal, and that's because of the addition of interesting complications. Things like a power reserve, especially the way it's executed here, where it really doesn't change the dial almost at all, but it's there. Or a moon phase. I've seen that utilized in a number of different designs from a number of both small and large manufacturers to add that little bit of extra appeal and interest to a dress watch dial without making it too over the top. So dress watches are making a comeback. And I'm a big fan of that because I've been a fan of dress watches from the beginning. It's, like I've said many times before, to me, watches are jewelry, right? They're unnecessary. It's adornment. And sprucing up a fancy outfit with a really nice watch is just a step that kind of is the cherry on the top of the cake, right? That's what it is for me. And this watch serves double duty in that it's a great dress watch. It is a great dress watch, but it really elevates anything. If you are conscious of your appearance and you want to present a professional look, the Junghans Meister Gangreserve is the perfect choice to pair with it. When categorizing this watch, I like to think of it as a dressy watch, not a dress watch. And what I mean by that is that at first glance, you're going to assume, oh, obviously a dress watch, right? Elegant design, minimalist, that nice domed crystal, supple leather strap, right? Obviously a dress watch, but to me it's a dressy watch in that this might be the only watch I've ever owned that kind of selects what I'm going to wear as a result of choosing it. And what I mean by that is that if I choose to wear this watch in the morning, it immediately limits my choices of attire because I tend to pick my favorite pieces to go with it. I don't just grab any dress shirt. I grab one of my favorites, right? If I'm going to wear it with jeans, I don't just grab any pair of jeans. I grab the nicest pair of jeans I own because this particular watch has a certain aesthetic that's a bit distinguished. And because of that, you don't want to match it with just anything. You want your outfit to be just so. And it's the only watch that kind of does that to me, really. It really is the only one. Everything else is kind of like I have an outfit in mind and then I pick the watch to match it or the watch that's suitable. Whereas whenever I choose to wear this, I immediately start going for the most premium pieces of attire I'm going to wear, regardless of the situation. If it's more casual, then it's my best jeans, maybe my best button-up polo. If I'm going to wear a suit, it's a more premium match suit. Like everything I select ends up being slightly elevated because of this particular watch choice. And I've never had that before. I really haven't. I own watches far more expensive than this, but this one really has that look like it's the kind of watch that somebody who's very discerning would select to wear and maybe wear every day, because you can wear this with an awful lot. It's not a true sports watch. It doesn't have a high level of water resistance, but it does suit the majority of activities you may engage in. You just gotta love this watch. It makes me particularly happy to see dress watches making a comeback because I'm a fan of them. right? From the very beginning, dress watches have always had a space in my watch collection, and almost half the watches I usually own are dress watches because I absolutely love them. Because, like I've mentioned before, to me, watches are jewelry, right? They're adornment. They're unnecessary items. We don't require them anymore. So if you're wearing them, it's purely for aesthetic purposes and the interest that goes with them. And dress watches do that for me because I like to dress up. I like to have a certain aesthetic, and dress watches generally add to it, right? Now, there are tool watches and they have their purpose, but it's not all that often that I'm using a tool watch for its intended purpose. If I'm wearing it, it's maybe for a little bit of fun, or because I'm just out and about and I might be doing something a little bit rough, or I just didn't so much care that day. I just wanted something trustworthy on the wrist. But generally, I care about my appearance. I'm going for a certain look, a certain aesthetic, and dress watches add to that, right? They're the cherry on top. And I love the fact that you can now find dress watches from so many different brands with unique designs and interesting complications utilized with them. Hopefully that remains the case going forward. Hopefully this resurgence isn't a blip on the radar, and that dress watches continue to be released year after year in greater quantities and newer designs, because that'll keep me going and looking to replace maybe the next watch in my collection. How do you feel about dress watches? Do you have a lot of them in your particular collection? Do you have any or none at all? Do you have a favorite dress watch that you wear to every special occasion, or something you'll wear to work every single day because it asks for it? Let me know in the comments. And if you haven't yet, please like, subscribe, hit that notification bell, because when we reach 5,000 subscribers, and we're on our way there, we're going to have a giveaway. It's going to be a watch. I have both a men's and a women's Seiko to give away. And as soon as we hit 5,000, I'm going to do a random draw, and one of you is going to get it. Because we want to give back. We really want to grow this channel. And as always, everything you get from us is our opinion, unsolicited, unpaid for opinion, right? Honest, actual reviews of items that we personally purchased. Till next.